Okay, no one knows when music began humming, chanting, pounding. What we do know is that references do date back thousands of years and written in visual depictions. However, we don't know what it sounded like. Well, audio doesn't exist, but the written music only survived in fragments, and the earliest notation systems were memory aids, not really notes. So the notation techniques that were used are not fully understood and did not stay in use. So when the performers who might have passed along a particular culture's music by means of oral tradition died, all the music died. By the first century, Roman Empire extended through much of Western Europe and Mediterranean, as did its music-making practices. And when the Romans conquered Greece, they absorbed Greece's culture. So the information that has survived about Greek music is important in shedding light on Roman music. However, Roman Empire collapsed by the end of the 5th century, so the music of their society is preserved only in oral traditions. And of course, that vanished. Still, succeeding generations of scholars in Europe continue to copy and re explain music theory. So, even as Europe was plunged into the Dark Ages, some information still survives, even though the music itself was lost. And here on this Greek vase, we have a young Greek woman playing a double flute called an aulos. Now, when Roman authorities first seized control in Europe, they brought with them the worship of Roman and Greek gods. Another faith is taking root, and that is Christianity. While Roman Empire losing strength, new faith gaining power. And it would be important in ushering innovations in music. Dark Ages. Middle Ages, not really dark. Now it's referred to as Middle Ages or early medieval period. Although, they were barbarous, but no more than other eras. Regardless of the label, archaeologists still have much to do to rediscover the achievements. Without a strong centralized government, record keeping was lost, and without large commercial cities, much disappeared and warfare became a way of life. Various kings seized and lost power. Only with the rise of feudalism was there a sense of society again. With feudalism, we have political and economic system that relies on obligations between tiers or levels of society. One group consisted of noblemen, known as vassals, and they swore an allegiance to a stronger nobleman, the lord. So it'd be the lord on top and then the vassals. Vassals would pay tribute to the lord. He would promise them protection. Lord gave each vassal land or fiefs. The vassals then acted as patrons over the lower social classes. Power decreases as you go down the chain, weakest members being the serfs. And there was no opportunity for upward mobility. What you were born into is where you stayed. Feudalism, not unique to Western Europe. Other countries followed similar systems. But it's the development of this feudal hierarchy along with Christianity that led to a new orderly society. And music plays a huge role in that society. All right, Roman Christianity. In contrast to war-torn Europe, new religious sect known as Christianity is developing its own hierarchy of administration. Early years were rocky. The Christians are being eaten by lions, and Roman government persecuted them. Martyrdom, if anything, gave Christianity an extra boost, and early Christians, over time, developed a church organization that was far more united and efficient than any possessed by its competitors. Christian worship began with informal groups, following patterns of Jewish study. Second century, each of the Christian or Catholic communities in various cities began to designate a leader or a bishop. This head bishop of a province was called a metropolitan or an archbishop. Though there were 4 important cities and they used different terms, Constantinople and Antioch were led by patriarchs. Rome and Alexandria were led by popes. And because Rome becomes the most powerful city, its pope was eventually recognized as the supreme at the end of the 6th century, during the reign of Pope Gregory I. Monasteries and convents also arose, religious communities for monks and nuns. Constantine the First and Theodosius and Clovis. As Christians grew in number, tension between them and Roman Empire grew. It's been estimated that by the year 250, 10% European population was Christian. Several Roman emperors led a series of efforts to suppress the religion, but by the early 5th century, it was apparent this battle would not win. So the emperor Galerius issues an Edict of Tolerance in 311. Galerius, Edict of Tolerance, 311. Emperor Constantine sees a cross burning in the sky as he was preparing for battle in 312. This cross, widely recognized symbol of Christianity, inspired him to baptize his entire household, and he issues the Edict of Milan in 313. Edict of Milan, Constantine I, 313, makes Christianity legal. Church can now own property and declared that the political ruler would be the head of the Christian church. Later in the 4th century, Christianity's position was further cemented by Emperor Theodosius I. In 380, he makes Christianity the official state religion of Roman Empire, and only Roman citizens who were Jews were exempt from worshiping as Christians. 410, government Visigoths attack Rome, but despite the destruction of the Roman Empire, Christian faith survives. Thanks to writings of various Romans, some knowledge about ancient music theory preserves, and one of the best known of these early music theorists was Anicius Boethius, and he served Theodoric the Great, a Germanic ruler. So remember Boethius. Through the long centuries of warfare that characterized Middle Ages, Clovis was first to unify all the Frankish tribes into a nation under a single ruler. He established the French throne should go to heirs. Clovis also married a Christian princess and was influenced by her to pray to Christian God. When Clovis was victorious, he converted to Christianity, and he also converted his entire army, has been baptized. However, after his death, with heirs squabbling for control, the kingdom disintegrates. Be 2.5 centuries before a new line of rulers would become successful and consolidate power in France. And that would happen with Charles Martel, his son Pepin III, the Short, and Pepin's son Charlemagne. Also, French nation joins forces with an increasingly powerful Catholic Church. Charlemagne. The merger of medieval political and church power had begun during the reign of Pepin III, remember the Short. His claim to the French throne was endorsed by Catholic leaders and Pope Stephen II. He travels to Paris, where he personally anoints Pepin as king. During his visit, members of his entourage perform ritual worship. He's impressed, Pepin is, with the style of Roman religious singing. Back in Italy, when the papal state was under attack by the Lombards, Pepin sends his army to help. When they're victorious, Pepin wants the Roman Catholic religious practices to be followed universally in the Frankish lands. So he began distributing handwritten books containing Catholic rituals through the kingdom. Pepin's success for Charlemagne continued the policies and expanded them as he conquered neighboring Saxon tribes. He required that they too be baptized as Christians, and when Rome again was threatened by the Lombards, Charlemagne's army comes to the Pope's rescue. In gratitude, Pope Leo III crowns Charlemagne as the first Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day in 800. This is huge. Charlemagne is first Holy Roman Emperor. And unlike most of its predecessors, Charlemagne had a great respect for learning, which affected European society and music training. 789, he decreed monasteries should all provide schools for boys. Subject matter should include singing, arithmetic, and grammar. And the school in Charlemagne's own court was overseen by an English scholar, Alcuin of York. Alcuin had been Charlemagne's tutor. Alcuin also wrote several textbooks for his pupils. He sounded a bit like a teacher of today when he scolded inattentive students. Ye lads whose age is fitted for reading, learn. The years go by like running water. Waste not the teachable days in idleness. Goes for you too, you decathlon people. Alcuin was a tremendous proponent of literacy, and he helped Charlemagne expand control over the vast realm by instituting a widespread educational system. Music had an important place in the new system. Alcuin's curriculum for higher education was modeled on 7 liberal arts that were considered essential. 3 focus on language. That was grammar, logic, and rhetoric. They are known as the trivium. The higher arts are the quadrivium: arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. Initially, instruction in these arts was provided by the schools at the Christian monasteries and cathedrals. The students at first were future clergymen and sons from noble families. Number of people, however, wanting an education begins to outstrip the capacity, and in smaller communities, tension arose between sometimes arrogant students and town merchants, and often the cathedral school would resolve the issue by moving to a larger city. In these more urban locations, many of the cathedral schools evolved into universities, such as the University of Paris. Other situations, university were newly established. Still, the original subjects offered in Alcuin's curriculum, including music, continue to be the basis of higher education. All right, then we'll end here and we'll pick up with theories of music.